Um, Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to welcome you and our inaugural speaker for the March 2025 edition, Professor Mark Daniel Ward from Purdue, to Living Histories. Mark, I'm dying to hear all that you have to tell us, so please take it away.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Shri. I feel really humbled to be among so many distinguished scientists and so on. If I understand the meaning of your living histories, it's to kind of just sort of convey our scientific journey in such a way. Maybe what we've accomplished in our career seems more, say, down to earth and attainable in some sense. And I think my story is nothing extraordinary. I happen to be a faculty member here in Purdue in the statistics department, and I also earned my PhD here in Purdue back in 2005 in mathematics. And after I had my PhD completed, I went to Penn for 3 years for a postdoc. But the second year, I just applied for a faculty position back in Purdue and was fortunate to get a tenure track job and came back here in 2007. I've been here since. So um, Purdue's been very good to me over the years, but I think even more generally than just uh, my scientific career here in Purdue, I think I'm a lifelong learner. I'm somebody who really enjoys being around people much smarter than I am and kind of absorbing, the best that I can learn from their science and study of languages and things like that. Um, maybe on a personal note, as an example of that, I could mention the last 5 or 6 years. I spent time learning how to sign. I learned American Sign Language, and more than just the language, I got immersed in the deaf culture, and I grew up hard of hearing. And I'm deaf in my left ear, and I'm hard of hearing in my right ear. And I grew up in the hearing culture and wasn't immersed in the deaf culture. And I feel like in the middle of my career, in my early 40s, in my personal, but also even in my professional life, in some sense, like I got I became part of another community I had grown up in. I think in my scientific career, it's been similar in that I learned combinatorics and probability theory and computation when I was in college and graduate school, and kind of set out on a career where I studied lots of asymptotic analysis of structures. Uh, I like to think about trees and databases and sequences and computational structures that become very large, and then how do you use mathematical techniques to characterize their properties as they get large. And then as my career went along, kind of data science sort of arose and just took over everything across all of the sciences. And now it's really in vogue to study very, very large structures. In some sense, asymptotic analysis is a what should I say? It's kind of pervasive like data science. I mean, we're all often thinking about terabytes or petabytes of data nowadays in the really large scientific questions of our time. So in some sense, it was good fortune to have studied asymptotic analysis when I was in graduate school. Um, I guess it was on the order of 12 years ago. I was fortunate to get a National Science Foundation grant in the workforce direction to support sophomore undergraduates. That's how I became familiar with my friend Shri, as we were able to mentor a couple students together in this program. So we had 20 sophomores living and learning and working together throughout the course of their sophomore undergraduate year in the residence hall across the street here at Purdue. And we did that over a course of 5 years, right? 20 sophomores every year. And then at the end of those 5 years, those 100 students, wow, I think they published, I don't know, on the order of 160 or 170 journal papers and conference talks. It was some large body of research. And the university said, well, even though the grant's over, what if you just open it up for anyone in the university? And then we had 100 students come, and then 600, and then 800 students, and so on. And now, 7 years later, we have about 2,000 students in the program that's evolved from that, called the Data Mine. Um, we're building another residence hall now across the street for another 900 students in that program, and that'll be finished next summer. And we've got data mine students in, I think, 60 some universities around the country now. It's kind of become more than a program, it's kind of become a model for learning. So, um, I don't do due diligence to talking about my career if I don't mention something about kind of combining my interest in my own research and the things I publish and study in my own life with what we do with students because I kind of I feel called to do that. I feel very much at home when I'm with the students. I learn a lot from my students, and I feel that's if anything makes my career meaningful at all, it's the fact I get to hang out with all of these really early career people who have such promising scientific careers ahead of them. And I don't believe in this word teaching. I don't lecture to the students. We do have a construct by which we give students lots of different projects that are data oriented nowadays, and I sign a lot of contracts with industry partners so that people who are much smarter than me out in industry can work with the students directly. In the past, we would have called that a co-op, and the students take time away from their study to go work with an industry partner. But nowadays, I think to just keep up in the academy, we have to face the fact that higher ed is changing a lot, and we as faculty members are maybe no longer or shouldn't be their main source of learning, and rather the students really want to apply their scientific and engineering skills and business skills in practice, even while they're still in college. And we have the opportunity as faculty at research schools like Purdue to forge partnerships with people at the national labs and in industry and present career paths to students that enable them to blend their academic and their real world learning together more closely. So that's what I'm doing now, mostly in my career. I direct this research center called the Data Mine, and there's, I think, 22 of us on the staff at present. And we essentially help students learn data science skills and then apply those skills with partners in different disciplines. It's really a very broad application areas. I mean, just like on this Living History series, I mean, you have scientists from across all the different disciplines that want to work with students. Aerospace is very popular for us, agriculture, manufacturing, pharmaceutical science. I mean, everybody wants students who are really well versed with data science skills. So, yeah, I think, like I said, we've had a couple thousand students go through our program each year at this point. I think it's going to likely continue to grow. And despite our failures and despite kind of building the plane as we're flying it and so on, it seems like there's something there that really resonates both with students and with our partners. And I'm excited to see where this program continues to go in the next few years ahead. So, yeah. Okay, how'd we do? Did
Uh,
I, did I largely meet your time standard?
uh, by a large margin, actually. So we have some time. Let me start by asking you a couple of questions to maybe flesh out the history part of Living Histories. You didn't tell us very much about where you grew up and how you became
Okay.
a Purdue student. Do,
hmm
do you want to touch upon that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm from Middletown, Ohio, between Cincinnati and Dayton, hence Middletown, and went to college in Granville, Ohio, at Denison University. I was fortunate to meet my wife my first week in college as an undergraduate in 1995, and wow, we have seven human beings now, and we've added to our family over the years, and our kids are homeschooled. We actually do what's called unschooling. Our children don't follow a curriculum. I have kids from ages 3 up to 21. And my mom was a teacher, an elementary school teacher. My dad worked in the steel industry and later in real estate. And lots and lots of people from Middletown still live in Middletown. When I go back to visit, I'm kind of from just sort of your average small Midwestern town. Happens to be where the vice president's from. JD Vance is from our town as well. And somehow was fortunate enough along the way to just be surrounded by really smart people and work my way up. And so I don't know anything. I've been lucky to be in the right place at the right time, Shri. And I kind of feel like, I think you wanted us to have some messages for early career people. And my sense is that even though I don't consider myself a very brilliant scientist, I do love to work hard. And you alluded to me being at work early in the morning. And I feel like if you just put in the time and you grind away and you do have the opportunity to pursue some higher education, the hard work can turn into good things.
Wow, inspiring words. We have a question from the audience. What's the best way to manage and protect data, which are increasingly becoming vulnerable?
The last phrase of what you said, I didn't understand what you're increasingly what?
Becoming vulnerable is what the question says. I think the spirit of the question is, since you work so much with data, do you have any special insights to share about how to manage and protect data?
Yeah, maybe one thing we could say out loud is there's principles about data management, especially when there's say vulnerable populations or domain scientists are needing to respect the domain where the data arose. There's something called CARE principles, CARE, and FAIR principles, FAIR. If you don't know about these could be useful to learn about. And then there's I think just the sanctity of where the data comes, the domain scientists and the people who are subject matter experts often, at least in my humble experience, know way more than the data scientists who are often called to work with the subject matter experts on the problems. And there's a lot of value in understanding where the data arises and how it's actually used, anomalies and time series and machinery and so on. Just the processes by which the data arise are often as important as, or maybe even much more important than the data or the analysis itself.
Thank you, Mark. In the interest of time, I'm going to wrap up with one last question that goes back to living histories, which is you embody, in my experience, the spirit of um, not making a sharp distinction between the work and the service to the community, um, to merge both in a very nice, fluid way. Um, Given that, I'm wondering if you had in your early career years thought about an alternate path that did not involve teaching and mentoring and doing research where these things can merge fluidly. What else could you have been doing which would have allowed you to be this person?
What can I say? I guess when I was in high school, I thought about becoming a preacher because I think I always feel called to like understand things that are kind of beyond our understanding. But I don't imagine I could have lived my life, Shri, without hanging out with other people. Like when I was in seventh and eighth grade, I used to read to other students who were my age but weren't able to read, and I always really enjoyed that kind of giving back to other human beings. So. Even though I'm maybe somewhat introverted, I really do enjoy the piece of being with others and learning in community. That's something that's special for me in my life. I treasure those opportunities.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks again on behalf of the audience. And